You are now listening to the Dual Position Podcast.
The boys are back to talk all things Supercoach all season long.
Please welcome your hosts, Whisperer and Brew.
It was about a week and a half we had off. Just life gets in the way. I don't know what happened. It was good, though, because last Sunday we didn't bother recording. I was an emotional wreck after captaining Ryan Pappenhausen and my bald co-host VC'd Manu and looped. Two very different moods last week, but we soldiered on. I saw slightly red arrows. You, my man, you're on the improve. I am down to 158th. I think we were at a high of 102 last week, so we lost like 56 spots. But mate, you're creeping up. You're like 350 points out of the top 1K.
Is that all?
Yeah, it's 350, 400. So the dream is on. But as we will get to trade talk at the end, you might need a lot of luck to go your way with the trades that you've left, but we like to live dangerously.
I always live dangerously in Supercoach. I go hard or go home. Yeah, look, I'm going to have to make the right decisions, and hopefully the injury carnage, comes to a halt, because I've been smacked a little bit around in the last couple of weeks. Losing Katoa's big for me.
Yeah.
That wasn't really a planned trade. Papi, look,
Papi,
it's unfortunate, and
not so much, I think.
It makes my move to hold him earlier in the season now definitely the incorrect move. So that hurts. Where would I be ranked if I had have freed up that cash and taken the extra points? But at least everyone owned him, so it's a hit for everyone this week.
Yeah, I mean, last week was bonkers. I mean, I brought in DTE, I brought in Dave Fafita, both those guys did well. Garrick did well. Manu, obviously, with 190, didn't have the VC on him or the C, so anyone that did, well done. I was not one of those guys, unfortunately. But yeah, just a monster score last week. I think I scored like just under 1,400 without Pappenhausen, with Pappenhausen as captain, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, just brutal with Pappenhausen, and he's out for the season. And some questions we'll get asked next year of sort of his fantasy relevance, considering the injury does affect his explosiveness and whatever. And we're going to have the guys like Tom Trbojevic at pretty discounted rates. So it'll be interesting to see what we do with Pappenhausen. But we will discuss that in December, January next year. Today, we're going to discuss round 19. We're heading to the pointy end of the season. Head-to-head players that maybe outside the top 8 are scraping through to try and get some wins. If you're an overall guy, you're looking to... I would say now is the time to pot up. If you've played it safe all year with your overall teams, now is the time to take some risks and try and gain some ground. So it's a very interesting point of the season. Team lists dropped at 4 o'clock. The Broncos, all their Origin guys are back. That includes Payne Haas as well. And I think the best thing here, Hosking, he's been fantastic, but he drops out of the side completely, which is great for owners. He's not going to be a 10, 15-minute bench fodder option, which is great. Ryan Madison is back for the Parramatta Eels. Jake Trbojevic is out for the Sea Eagles. Fiege is in for Sully. Your boy Luke Keary is back after a bit of a layoff, but it's good to see him back. So Statili Tupanua is out with an ACL, out for the season, unfortunately. And Joey Manu has been named Brew, but there was some whispers going around that he could be in doubt after his his little cramp pull, his jerk, he scored. Where do you sit on that? Do you think it's all fair in game, bit of gamesmanship, or do you think it was a genuine cramp up, then he just saw a gap and took it?
Oh, look, he cramped up. You could see, by the way, that he stopped and then grabbed his leg. But, I guess the defense stopped, and then I guess it comes down to sportsmanship in that situation. Do you run through the gap and, set up a try like he did, or do you just, take a knee and say, you played fair, I'll play fair? It was a funny moment. I'll pay that. And as a captainer, I suppose,
you'll take
by that stage,
40 points.
I was looping, 30 minutes before that. I was looping by half time.
As for the Roosters, how do you think Luke Keary coming back in affects you guys? Because to be honest, like the Roosters have looked good over the last sort of 3 weeks.
Look, I think Manu's the 6, to be honest. And I think Walker plays better when he's playing the 7 role. And, I was really hoping that Keary might get eased back in the 14, just to protect him and maybe not take away from a little bit of the mojo that the Roosters been playing with in recent times with Manu at 6. So I must admit, when I saw Manu in the 4, I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping he would stay in the halves.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be floating throughout the game. Looked to me last week he was sort of attacking in the 6 and defending in the centres. So I think it depends on how Trent Robinson's going to use him. For the Knights, Kurt Mann is back on the bench. That sees Mitch Barnett stay at 13. And Chris Randall drops out of the side completely. So Jaden Braley, for anyone that owns him in draft, I doubt anyone has him in Classic, but for draft guys, you expect him as a good play there. For the Raiders, Elliot Whitehead, Nick Cottridge back. Really good to see really good to see Albert Hopper-Wade. Now, obviously, had plenty of raps on him the last sort of 3 or 4 years. Never really got the crack in NRL, had plenty of injuries, had some setbacks, but Albert Hopper-Wade gets his chance on the wing for the Raiders, mate.
Yeah, look, it's good to see him get a go. I got to admit, I'm a little bit sad for James Schiller. Like he hasn't really had a crack. He played well in round 1 and maybe 2 if he played 2. I can't remember. And since then, he's only really had opportunities, whether he's been the 18th man that's popped in or off the bench. And he had a blinder, I thought. He played really, really well on the weekend. And it's just unfortunate that, you have your best game and you go down with an injury. So disappointing for him, but opportunity, obviously, for young Hopper-Wade to finally get his crack.
Yeah, as Jordan Rapiner is suspended, which seems to be, a 4 to 5 times thing a year. It doesn't go a year in the NRL without Jordan Rapiner getting suspended. So I'm sure Schiller will get his chance coming back from injury. Chanel Harris-Tavita named at fullback with Reece Walsh on the bench. Probably the biggest surprising thing from Teamless Tuesday. I don't know how I feel about this. The Warriors, I think they're just going to throw a lot of shit at the wall and hope something sticks. Penrith, as expected, and your boy, Sione Katoa, is out for the season. That sees Connor Tracy move to the wing. And look, mate, I'll be honest, I think this Sione Katoa injury has saved a lot of Sifa Talakai owners because fully fit, I probably would have kept Tracy at the centre and had Talakai off the bench.
Look, in the preseason, you and I, and probably most podcasters, had Tracy starting in that centre role. So it was kind of surprising when Talakai ended up nabbing it, and his form's kind of dipped, once he had that big game, a bit of attention went on him and they learned how to shut him down, and he hasn't done a whole lot since. And Tracy's a bit like, not to the same extent, but he's a little bit like Matt Burton when he plays in the centres. He's got that kicking game. He's got that 5/8 ball playing skill. And, it seems to be an option now to have these type of players in the centres. You look at a Joey Manu who's proved that he can play 6 or 1 and he's playing in the centres, same type of thing. He's very creative and it's a real attacking weapon for sides to have that.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you there. However, he is on the wing and Talakai back in the centres. For the Melbourne Storm, your boy, Tyrant Wishart, you bought him as hooker cover. He now has wing. He's now on the wing for the Melbourne Storm with Nick Meaney at fullback and Grant Anderson at 14. This is disgusting. It's probably going to ruin any loop chances at all this week. So Grant Anderson at 14 is awful.
I must have missed that. I thought he did a serious injury on his arm. I must have skimmed over that looking at the team sheet.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh, sweet, no Anderson, that's awesome. And then I scrolled down to the bench and there he was in the 14, which is not ideal. The Titans and the Dogs, they line up 1 to 17. The Cowboys, all the Origin guys are back and Ruben Cotter is still on ice. So there was reports that he'd be back around 19, but probably looks to be close to around 20. I've come this far holding him. I'm just going to keep holding him.
Look, selling him the minute he went down with injuries kind of proved to be the right call. I think now, this is an extensive run. But yeah, if you've held him this far, of course, you would just hold him a little bit further, I suppose. Yeah,
the reason I held him is just because no one at hooker is screaming out, buy me. Grant's sort of gone off the boil a little bit. Cook was rested over Origin. Blake Brayley hasn't really kicked on from his early season form. Reece Robson, probably the only viable, or Api Coruscant, the only viable options really to pick up at the time. So, yeah, I'm happy to hold. However, let's move on to the most bought. And, I mean, mate, no surprise. He's looked in the media have said it for the last 2 weeks, the best shape of his career. And I was not worried about these last 2 games with Latrell Mitchell. I thought he'd come in and beat down all these weaker sides, but I think the big test is now playing in that really tough run that Souths have moving forward. But 16.5% of teams don't really mind. He is number 1 most traded in player this week.
Look, I'll say one thing. I really do wish I ended up going Latrell when I said I was going to buy him instead of Jerome. I think that's going to prove to be the wrong move. But as you said, even now, obviously Pappenhausen's injured. I've got the cash. I'm not really looking at Latrell, to be honest. I really do not like South's run home, and they're not going to be able to bully these sides on the way home. Like even the Bulldogs scored I can't remember, 24 points or whatever it was against them, well and truly in that contest. And that's no knock on the Bulldogs, but at the same time, the Bulldogs aren't a top 6 side and they're going to play all of them on the run home. So I think it's going to be a lot harder. And, Mitchell's not going to be scoring 1 to 2 tries every week, and you'll come back to earth and get a few 45 to 50s, I'd say.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you and I, we love Latrell. Like, we were hyping him up all preseason. We highlighted that South's golden run from like round 8 to round 20. We were going to be all over Latrell, and unfortunately, he was out. But if you told me 2 weeks ago that Latrell would come back and just go 100-100, I wouldn't have been surprised, considering the opposition that they were facing. The biggest query for me is being low on trades, yourself included. I'm not looking to pick up guys for 1 to 2 week plays anymore. For me, it's now season-long keepers, and just with the fullback options available, I would have rather taken a punt on number 2, actually. James Tedesco had 14% of teams being brought in. Look, Teddy got some really good junk at the end of last week, was frustrating for non-owners, but I think he still had a 50-60 floor without that try at the end there, and I'd hate to say it, but Kiri back in the 6 probably stifles Manu a little bit, and therefore opens up Teddy just like a little bit more.
Possibly, but at the same time, you can also play off the back of what Manu creates too. So it's a double-edged sword. I think it was 55 last week, which is solid base without the tries. But again, he's not going to score 2 tries every week. So I think there's a genuine opportunity to really go pod now. Like, no Turbo, no Papi, no other fullbacks really, lighting it up. I guess you could say Latrell is, but that comes with the footnote of really tough run home. So it's kind of open season at fullback, and I really hope people don't all just jump on James Tedesco and go, you know what, this is the time. I'm going to go on a run here and I'm going to pick this player, and this is why. Yeah,
I reckon at the end of today's episode, we can run over some of the best options that I guess aren't being spoken about. However, number 3, I guess, is another option, a fullback option, is Ruben Garrick at 6.3% of teams. I guess a lot of people didn't buy him at the time, and now they're sort of licking their wounds and they're picking him up at top dollar. However, he is the long-term Manly fullback for this season. There is some whispers going around that Turbo might be back this year, but that's not until like midway through the finals at best. So yeah, Ruben Garrick, I think, is still an absolute lock. He's the reason why I bought, or not he's the reason, but that Manly draw is the reason why I bought DCE last week. And Garrick is just, fullback. Probably looks to be picking up the goal kicking again this week after having it off for a couple of weeks with that hip pointer injury. And Manly fullback in that glorious run home, no brainer for me.
Look, he's been a great buy. Yeah, he's pretty much never let you down. He's got a really high base. He's always there to back up the tries. He can throw the typical fullback cutouts to get the extra junk in there. He's a great option. In fact, there is an option for Papi sellers just to duel him or Manu down into fullback with pretty, I'd say, security. Yeah. And open it up, pick up a forward, pick up 2 centers, like go a different direction. The option is there, especially with the majority of people still owning Nico Hines as well. Like there's all kinds of options. Yeah,
I'll put my hand up and say I was 100% wrong with Ruben Garrick. I remember when he got the fullback, I said that he wouldn't burn you. Like if you're an owner, awesome. If you're a non-owner, awesome. I didn't think he was a player that you had to rush out and get, but if you owned, I wouldn't be selling him. Definitely put my hand up and say I was wrong there. Would we be saying this if we didn't have this fullback crisis? I don't know, but Ruben Garrick has just been solid and putting up numbers consistently, and he definitely needs to be looked at in sides that don't own him already. At 6.1% of teams is last week's stud, 191 points, I think it was. Joey Manu, also available at fullback. All these guys are, and you'll see why when it comes to the most sold. But Manu this year, he's a must-have. Let's just not beat around the bush. There's no point saying what his Supercoach stocks are. The difference is, he's the last couple of years, he's sort of been,
40, 45 player.
Yeah, but he'd go on like a month stretch where he just average 100 and then just fall off a cliff. It just seems like he's getting way more touch on the ball this year. He's still so young. His average is increasing year on year. Joey Manu, for footy fans know, but I think the casual footy fan now sees just what an absolute stud he is when he gets his hands on the ball.
The fact that he's a Kiwi and doesn't play Origin means that he gets these opportunities, and every time he gets an opportunity, he shows something. Every time he gets an opportunity for New Zealand, he has 400 run meters and touches the ball 50 times. It just opens up the options at club level, and they've realised that you've got an extra spine player playing in the centres, so we need to get this guy more touches, and that's just what it comes down to. That guy touches the ball, he's going to rack up the points with tackle busts, line breaks, etc.
I would say the Cowboys have the second best draw coming home apart from the Manly Sea Eagles, and that sees Valentine Holmes, Origin start, 4.7% of teams being brought in this week. Available centre wing, fullback, and the top 5 all available at centre wings. Can you get behind the merit of signing Valentine Holmes in this, I was going to say Canterbury side, in this Cowboys side that is just looking like, just a completely different side of life this year?
He's one of my 3 options at fullback that I'm looking at this week. I haven't decided which one. I need a future plan a little bit, so my trades are a little bit more than just what I do this week. It's also, what I do in the next week or 2 afterwards, but he is one of the guys. As you said, the draw is great. I really like that there's been some higher scores without actually scoring the tries, which means that he's getting involved in other ways.
Also got that
we know he's got the talent.
The safe goal kicking floor as well. The Cowboys are putting up points this year.
One of the most majestic goal kickers to watch, I think. Just the way he hits that ball.
I would have him second in the NRL to Jermaine Asako. I think Jermaine Asako kicks a really pretty ball, and Holmes is just behind him, I feel. So definitely good to watch on the eye.
Yep, I agree.
Awesome. Number 6, number 7, and number 10. Cameron Munster, Nathan Cleary, Harry Grant. Not too much to say about those guys. However, number 8, a guy that I brought in last week, Daly Cherry Evans. Now, I think he won't have the ceiling as what he had last week because he probably won't have the goal kicking. But now with the, fullback crisis, sees some teams move Nico Hines down to fill in a slot there, and that maybe opens up a halfback slot. And I would probably say DCE is the second best option for the run home behind Cleary.
Part of this.
You could even argue that DCE is probably the best option to have for the run home in terms of points scored from now until the end of the season.
I think part of this is the eye test and the fact that Cherry Evans looks like he's playing some of, if not the best football of his career from a pure NRL perspective. And obviously, the way that he played in Origin as well. And I think that's having a factor, in people making this pick. You're just looking at him going, this guy's in form. And if he's in form, he's going to score points.
He's running the ball a lot more.
And he's 40-20s, the way that he just spots that and kicks it, that's 10 points every time he does that. And he's doing it with regularity at the moment. I really support it. If I had the additional moves and didn't already get Hughes locking out my 7 position, definitely something I'd look at.
Number 9, Mosport, Hosking from the Broncos, has looked really good the last 2 weeks, drops out of the side completely. I'm sure if people are looking for it. That'll
change.
If you're looking for enough, I'd just go with Jewel Enough here rather than him. But that is the top 10. The top 5 most sold, 38% of teams. I didn't even think there was 38% of teams still playing. Have traded out Ryan Pappenhausen. Not too much more to say about this, unfortunately, for Pap. And mate, did you watch that Storm game? He was looking like going off for 200.
Yeah, well, the first minute there was a line break and then he threw a ball 5 meters forward. And then, 10 minutes later, him and Munster basically did the same thing again. He was touching the ball a lot and he looked like he was absolutely in the mood. After 10 minutes of that game, I was sitting there going, this is going to be one of those days for the Storm. And I was rubbing my hands. I think going into that, I was nearly 12, somewhere between 1250 and 1300, and I had 3 players from the Melbourne Storm spine, and I was going, 1500 might be on here. And then obviously he had that horrific, contact injury with Whiten, and he was down, and the game changed completely. Yeah. I feel bad for Paps. That was if you do an ACL or something, it's a bit different to a contact injury like that. That was brutal.
That'd be painful. Tarpany and Elliott just really wrestled that game back for the Raiders, and they just took it on the front foot. But yeah, Pappenhausen was on.
How good's Adam Elliott?
Oh, mate.
I know you're the owner, and you blow his trumpet regularly, but honestly, he's playing some of the best football of his career, and Adam O'Brien better not ruin that guy. He just needs to slot in at 13 at Newcastle, play 60 minutes, and just let the guy go.
I don't want to look too far ahead in advance, but at the start of the year, he was averaging 20 points a game. So his season average is only 53, 54 points. So he could
be in that awkward price range next year.
Yeah, but if he's going to be playing lock, I mean, there's merit that he's an option. We're talking way too far in the future, but yeah,
hooker.
Dual hooker, mate. Yeah, definitely get him in. But yeah, I think the Raiders wrestled that game back really well. And I do feel bad for Paps. He had 40 points after 10 minutes, and I was thinking, coming into the game, I was like, all right, well, we're not going to beat the guys that straight captain Manu, but we can definitely beat the Loopers here when it comes to overall points. So if Pap can go 150, then it'll beat the Loopers, which would have been great. And then, yeah, kind of ruined my afternoon, that one. So it was good to have the podcast off on Sunday. Number 2, when it comes to trades at this point of the year, a lot of the trade outs are quite low percentage because teams are just cutting the dead wood. So I think we can agree. We can cut to the chase on these guys. Ezra Mam, Will Penasini, Karaz, and Talakai. Teams are cutting those guys. They're the top 5. Talakai, I think you can probably hold now. That there is security on his job position. We know the Sharks' draw coming home is great. I think you can get behind holding it. It's a luxury trade at this point. But Mam, Penasini, and Karaz, all those guys, I think have done fantastic, and it's probably time to move them on.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a look at the option of selling Mam this week. Not going to do it. Didn't like the combination that I came up with and the price left over, but certainly he's done all he can do, and I don't really think he's going to often go beyond 60, to finish the season. He'll probably always score over 40, which is good. He's in that kind of safe areas, but I don't think the ceiling's going to be quite the same to finish. They've got too many attacking weapons, Brisbane, at full strength.
Good afternoon. This is your captain speaking.
Weird one this week. There's a few options. I mean, the two big guns, Hines and Cleary, they're in kind of gross matchups. The Storm, they play South. Who knows what's going to happen there. I've kind of narrowed it down to DC or Garrick versus the Dragons. That looks like a really, really tempting game to chuck the VC on. You obviously got Tedesco versus the Knights. That could be a bloodbath. Nico Cleary, I think it depends on your team setup. It depends who you think scores more. And, I mean, to be fair, the Bunnies and Storm game, that could be like a 26-20 kind of game. So there definitely could be some points there. I'm going to be settling on DC or Garrick as my VC. Haven't worked out who yet. And I'm probably just going to go Tedesco as my captain, which gives away one of my trades for the end of today.
I don't mind the Garrick call. I'm probably going to VC Manu against the Knights.
Double down?
I think there'll be good amount of points in that game.
What happens if he is ruled out? Like, obviously there is some issues over his calf, and there was some doubt whether he's going to get named. If game day comes around, Manu's out. What are we doing there?
I will VC one of my trade-ins.
Ooh.
If I go that direction, I'll VC that person, which I'll talk about later. Captain this week, I'm not mucking around. I'm just going Cleary.
Fair enough. I am not going Cleary, so we'll have something good to talk about on Sunday. So obviously, that was my next question. Hines or Cleary? You think Cleary has the better week?
Yeah, it's at Blue Bet. That's a fortress there, man. Like,
I don't know.
And
I heard last week that Cleary was in Bali. He could come back with a bit of Bali belly, mate.
No, he's a professional athlete. He'll be all right. I don't think he would have been there long enough to get up to too much trouble. So, no, at Penrith, after a week off, should be a little bit fresher. I'm sure they've had a good week at training. They'll be ready for the Sharks. After
he lost his Australian 7 jersey to Cherry Evans, just get ripping back into it.
The more they win now, the more they can rest leading into the finals. So these games are going to be key to them. I think they'll be all in. Cleary for me.
Yeah, they're like 6, 7. They're like 8 points clear or something at the top. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, rounds 23, 24, 25, they're going to suck for Supercoach. I feel like they're just going to kick us right in the dick.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be horrible.
Hot takes this week. I guess from my hot takes, you can tell who I own. I've got Latrell sub of 50, just basically banking on no try involvements from Trell. I've got Tedesco as the top scoring fullback option, just in general. And I've got David Fafita coming off the back of 75 doing absolutely nothing for 100 plus a fair.
Okay, good. I had Dave Fafita scoring one and setting one up this week.
I feel like I snipe you. Next week I'm going to let you go first because I feel like I snipe you every week.
You do a little bit. You do indeed. I've got pretty much the same for Papali'i. I've got Papali'i scoring a double this week against the Broncos, which should be 100 plus. And I've got Aaron Booth, the hooker.
Our boy, our preseason boy. How good did he look? Hang on. How good did Aaron Clark look at fucking 13?
He didn't look too bad there, I must admit. But yeah, I got Booth burrowing over for a try this week and going 70 plus.
It's really going to fuck our Supercoach things next year, by the way, because he's going to average
I got Booth.
Yeah, but like just for next year, like he's going to average like 55, 60 to end the year. He'll be priced like ridiculous next year. It'll be awful.
I'm considering playing him this week.
I know you bought him last week. I did see that. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
I mean, since we didn't stream last week, what did you end up, not that it matters, but what did you end up doing last week? Because you mentioned that you got Booth.
Okay, so I didn't end up getting Dave Fafita last week.
At least
I still wanted him. But I really had this gut feeling on Manu, and I was sitting there at work on Friday talking to a few of the boys, and I'm like, dead set, Manu's going to go bonkers this week. I'm going to get him.
Thanks for telling me
And
that.
I traded him in on the spot. I said to him, I'm like, if he's not my straight C, he's going to be my vice captain. I've just got a gut feeling I'm going to do it. So I did it because I was like, you know what? With minimal trades left, I got the cash after, going down to Booth. I can't remember who I traded to Booth. I think it was Talakai, actually. I went Talakai down to Booth via Jules, and I had all this cash left over, and I was like, I can just afford Manu. I should do it. So I did it and put the VC on him, and, a near 1,500 score, and the rest is history. So that was last week.
For me last week, I ended up... Look, I really wanted Cherry Evans, and then the conundrum was like, I'm probably not going to have the trades to get Hamola Olakawatu in. So I just said, look, if I get Cherry Evans, that probably hedges me with Olakawatu. So I probably don't have to get him then. So I decided to trade Mam out. And then with the news that Talakai was benched, I traded Talakai out as well. Gave me the funds to go David Fafita over Hamel Olakawatu. Went for the pod factor and the fact that I was getting Cherry Evans as well. Kind of hedged my bet. So I got Fafita and Cherry Evans. Both those guys did very well for Mam and Talakai. As for this week, how many trades do you have pre-trades? And
3.
What are the moves? So basically you're making 2 moves this week, so you're going to leave yourself 1 trade from rounds 20 to 25. Slim, but you did it last year and you finished top 100, so there is merit to it.
Yeah, look, it's not ideal, and my squad's not what it was last year, so I'm probably going to be in some trouble. But, all these injuries popped up. I wasn't really planning to go nuts with trades this week, but I lost 2 of my guys. I've got to do it. So at the moment, Dave Fafita is definitely coming in, 100%.
75 doing absolutely nothing.
I'll be going Katoa to Fafita via Tago, I think it is. So finally getting Tago down in the centres after all this time. He's been up there since about round 3, I think. Second move, complicated. Okay, so we got Papi out. I'm either looking at going, my first choice is Kalen Ponga, which is,
I actually don't. I don't hate that. Like, I want to bring it. And this is the reason why I said at the top of the show, like, let's discuss fullbacks that aren't James Tedesco or Latrell Mitchell. Because I know that you were considering Kalen Ponga, and this week's kind of gross. But you don't have the trades to wait. Like he plays.
I don't mind this week, to be honest. Like the Roosters are leaking points. Like maybe the Dragons fell off last week, but they still scored a couple of quick ones, easy ones against the Chooks last week, and. They were in that game up until half time, and that sin bin really changed the game and opened it up. So, they can, the points are there against the Roosters, and they did flog them in round 1. So there might be a mental scar there for the Chookies. Also, then they've got the Bulldogs, Tigers, Broncos, Canberra, Gold Coast, and the Sharks. None of that really bothers me because, the Sharks on their day can be a defensive powerhouse. Absolutely. But the Broncos, even when they win, still leak points, and everyone else on that list leak lots of points. So I don't mind it. He's a sub 500. He's goal kicking. I really like
the move. He's goal kicking now. Jay Cliff is out of favour. I really do like it. I just didn't like it this week, but you don't really have the trades to wait a week with Pappenhausen and Katoa out. So I really like it as the pod factor as well.
Yeah, the other options I've got is Drinkwater, just to capitalise on the Cowboys' run home. And the fact that they are scratching and clawing to get a potentially up to top 2 finish, I guess, which is going to be all important into the finals. So restings-wise, I don't see Drinkwater getting a rest the rest of the season, so I think he's safe in that regard. Plenty of points on offer, obviously, in the Cowboys. We've seen them do that regularly. If they do score points, Drinkwater's generally involved in it, either on the back of the tries or setting them up. For all the reasons I just said, Val Holmes is the other option. Also the goal kicker, which is the benefit of, the goal kicking, which could be anywhere between, say, 10 to 30 points in goal kicking if the Cowboys, have a day out. So that's kind of my short list at the moment. I think I'm not going Ted. I'm not going Latrell.
Have you looked at Nick Meaney?
I'm going to go a different direction. Look, I did look at Nick Meaney, but from memory, and this is off the top of my head, so don't quote me on this, but from memory, the Storm's final 4 involves Parramatta, Penrith, South, and I think the Roosters. That's not very good at the back end of the season.
Close. South, Warriors, Titans, and then from 22 onwards, the Panthers, Broncos, Roosters, Parramatta. So
there you go.
Yeah, not ideal. Melbourne Storm goal kicker, though, there is the flaw there. I think he averaged 75, which isn't too bad. So, yeah, I think there's some merit. I really do like the Callum Ponga shout, to be honest. As for my trades, my man, I need a gun fullback. So, Ryan Pappenhausen is out for James Tedesco, unfortunately for me. I know it's not pod, but it is what it is. I took a pod shout in for Fafita and Cherry Evans last week. And I'm also trading out... Goodness, I need to work out who my... Oh, Mitch Barnett. Now he's been moved back to lock. Mitch Barnett sucks.
Yeah.
I didn't play him last week, which was a genius move in the end. I trading him out. He made some good money. And I'm trading Mitch Barnett out for Valentine Holmes.
And I like it.
Yeah.
Like I don't really need to say much because I just spoke for about 5 minutes about the Cowboys. So yeah, I like it, dude. I like it a lot. I think you'll find that quite a few people will end up getting on Val Holmes this week.
Also,
like I said, goal kicker, top side.
Yeah.
They score a lot of points. There's going to be points. There's going to be big games in there for him.
Gives me about 350k left over. And I have to work. Yeah, I've only got 3 trades though. So I only plan on using 1. I plan on having 2, hopefully to hold the 2 for around 25 when half my side gets benched. Basically, I'll ask you guys in the chat this next week. It'll come down to Dylan Brown or Harry Grant. And if we go Harry Grant, brew, I can go Andrew Fafita to Harry Grant straight with the cash in the bank.
I'm not sure how I feel about Grant at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, normally Grant would be a slam dunk, but he crashed over for a try last week and got 65.
Something's a little bit off about the Storm at the moment. And, he got that phantom whistle try. You take that off. He had a real stinker of a game.
35 points or something.
There wasn't a great deal of involvement. I don't know. I don't know how they go without Pappenhausen there. I think more of it will go through Munster and
I think Grant's game isn't relying on Pappenhausen, thankfully. Grant's game's relying on his forwards getting quick play the balls. So, yeah, I'll give him a week. And, yeah, it'll basically come... I've got 1 trade left. It'll come down to, Drinkwater. It'll come down to basically any 2RF, any hooker, or any 5'8". So, Dylan Brown, Cam Murray, Cary Grant, Damien Cook. I've got the money there. It'll just depend on who I like next week. And that'll be my side for the run home.
It's a good side, mate. You can still do this.
No, I'm well too far back for a win. I think we're all cheering on Tim Moody again. But yeah, man, top 100 would be sick after 18k last year, whatever it was. But that's going to be us done for the week. A quick one this week, only half hour or so. Brucey has got a run, hence why we recorded a little bit earlier today. But we'll be back on Sunday, I think. I haven't looked at the game schedule, but I know that the 3 games last week really threw you out of whack because you go to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with the sun still up, so there was no way I was getting you to record 8 o'clock at night.
But I start work at 3 a.m., but yep.
Yeah, so anyway, you've been listening to the Dual Position Podcast. I've been, Whisperer, coach of the Ramsey Resurgence. I think my team next year, it's got to be the Elliott Emergence.
Don't mind that.
Yeah.
Don't mind that at all.
I've been joined by the coach of the Brew World Order, Brew SC22, mate. Thank you once again for joining me.
No problems.
And we will see you on the other side come Sunday. Take care. Have
fun. See you
fun.
Sunday, guys. Bye.
Bye.